Hey guys, hope you're all doing great today. I was thinking that in today's video, what we could work on is a very simple flower arrangement. And I've just got some white flowers here. They're just simple white carnations. They're about $5. I've also got a glass vase here. It's kind of just a simple, kind of a stout jar, and it has a very wide top. Then I've also got some rubbing alcohol here, and the purpose of this is going to be to clean off our knife blade before and after we're done preparing the flowers and the flower stems. And then I've also got a couple paper towels just to, be a vehicle for the rubbing alcohol. And then of course we've got our Swiss Army knife over there. And if you do have a Swiss Army knife, I really do recommend using that instead of scissors to trim your flower stems, because when you use scissors, you're kind of defeating the purpose, which is really to give the flower stem a cut at a good angle in such a way that you're leaving the passageways open so that the flower stems can absorb the water that you give it. And using a knife, a very sharp knife, and I'll show you how to do this, is going to cut it in just one direction, and it's going to leave the flower stem intact so that it can absorb that water. So let's just get to it. I'm just going to move my vase out of the way here, and I'll move my rubbing alcohol as well. Actually, I think we're going to start off with that. So first, I'm just going to take my Swiss Army knife here. I'm going to select the blade that is the largest for this size. I'm going to demonstrate how to cut it when we get to it, but first we're just going to clean the blade. So you're going to take a paper towel here and just put this down for a moment. I'm just going to go ahead and uncap my rubbing alcohol. Okay. So again, just selecting the blade. Fold up your paper towel here. And you really don't need that much. You could probably even get away with just one paper towel. And you're just going to kind of fold it so that the blunt edge is the one closest to your fingers, not the sharp edge, the blunt edge. And you're going to close your paper towel around it and just wipe that down a few times until it's shiny and there's no residue from previous cuts on there. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I can just see that my alcohol actually dried off of there pretty well, pretty fast. So I'm gonna leave this out for a moment, just place it over here. All set with the rubbing alcohol for now, so we can go ahead and put that back. Okay, I'll put that aside here. And I'm also going to save my other paper towel for later. Although we really could just use the same one, and I think I might just do that. Alright, so this one's all set. I'm just going to go ahead and put that aside there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some scissors or the same knife we were just using, and we're going to go ahead and open our flower little bouquet here. out of our flower bag, we're just gonna go ahead and assess each stem. Just gonna do a quick run through. The primary thing we're looking for is we're not gonna really be wanting a lot of excess leaves like these right here to be sitting in the water, just standing there. That's gonna lead to deterioration, and the water's gonna go kind of sour faster, and that's not gonna be great for your flowers. So I'm gonna bring my little vase over, and you can do that as well. Now, generally, a good kind of rule of thumb that I go by sometimes, and I say it sometimes because it's not always what you want to do, but you want to evaluate how long your stem is relative to how deep the vase is. And you generally want to have 2 times the length of the vase outside the vase. So, what I mean by that is, if you're picturing your whole entire arrangement as being in 3 parts, you're going to want 2/3 of it to be the flower and the stem, and you're going to want 1/3 of it to be the vase. So I'll kind of show you that later, but even right now as I'm looking at how tall my vase is right here. I know that I'm going to need to take a lot of the stem off in order to get the height that I'm going to want in the end, and we've got kind of a very full vase, so we've got a lot of space to fill on this one. So I'm going to probably end up cutting a lot of the buds off, but then rearranging them so that they can bloom later. Alright, so I will just get to it, and if there's anything along the way that I notice, I will let you guys know. Just to start off, you're going to want to just peel off any extra leaves that you don't want sitting in your water. Alright, and when I go ahead and do my cut, I'll show you first, and then I'll kind of explain. So as I do my cut, I'll show you again on a different stem. So what you're going to want to do is align the blade at about a 45-degree angle to your stem. And I know it seems counterintuitive because usually you never want to cut toward yourself, but the way that you're going to do this should not result in a cut if you're doing it, cautiously enough. So you're going to have it at about a 45-degree angle to your stem. Your thumb's going to be on the other side. And usually what I focus on is maintaining a nice firm pressure with my thumb and the knife around the stem. And when I do this, I'm going to pull the flower stem away rather than focusing on bringing the knife to me, if that makes sense. So I'll demonstrate once again, I'm just going to pull the flower stem away, and that in and of itself should kind of result in the cut I want. So, when I do that, I'm kind of releasing the pressure as soon as the flower stem gets away from my hand. So I'm not driving that knife into my thumb at all. I'm just immediately releasing that pressure. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do all these stems, and I'll kind of keep demonstrating, and we will check back in momentarily. Because my first step is gonna want to be to just get that length, and then once I have the length, then I can go about arranging and putting the buds where I want them to be. So I'll just do that step first and foremost, where I'm removing the leaves, the excess leaves, and I'm taking away that big length on the stem. Okay, so as of right now, this is what our flower arrangement is looking like. It looks pretty sparse and ridiculous, and we're not gonna stop here, so don't worry. But what I really want to do is kind of tighten up the empty spaces between it. Now, sometimes negative space can be a great thing, and negative space just refers to, the space where nothing is. Because sometimes it creates interesting silhouettes or frames the whole piece, but this is not really what I want, so I'm gonna tighten it up. And in this case, I'm not gonna follow our 2/3 rule that I was talking about before, but sometimes it is a good rule of thumb. I'm really just going to trim down the height off these stems a little bit more. I'm gonna take out the additional buds and place them kind of alongside our stems so that they're in there with them. And I'm gonna get everything just to be a little bit closer together, so we'll see how that goes, and I'll check back in with you guys in a few moments. peeling off, I'm doing the same style of cutting as I would with any of the other stems. I'm just cutting it right at the base here because obviously they're not as tall, and when you put these in, you want to kind of interlace them into your other taller stems so that they kind of have a little place to sit when they're in there in the vase. So for these ones, we'll just sort of save them for later, and we'll put them in last so we can give them a little platform to stand on with our other flowers. still have quite a few. I still have quite a few of the ends to trim off, so we'll do that very quick, and then we'll get our water filled in as well. So now that my blade is all clean, now that my blade is all finished being used, we can sit down to clean it. And I am just going to use the same paper towel as I did the first time around. And it's going to be the same process. We're just using some rubbing alcohol, putting a dab of it onto a paper towel. You're going to hold the knife's blunt edge away from you. And you're just going to give it a few swipes with this paper towel. And we're all set. So we now have a nice clean edge. And as you close your knife, you always want to move these fingers out of the way so that they're on the side, and then you can just go ahead and snap it down. So that's that with the knife. We're all set. I'm just going to recap my rubbing alcohol here. So that's all set, and I can throw away my paper towel. Okay, so at this point my bouquet is looking pretty much how I want it to. I'm just going to go ahead and move aside all of this debris. And what I recommend doing with this debris is composting it, or just putting it outside rather than throwing it in the trash. Because obviously it's plant matter and it's completely biodegradable, so I would recommend that. Okay, so, and also if you have any little petals that have come off during your arranging, I like to just kind of save those and put it on the side. You can, I don't know, find a use for it at some point. You don't really have to throw it out, because it's looks perfectly good. You can consider drying it and using it decoratively somehow. Okay, so our last step is going to be to add in our fresh flower food, and this is essentially just a mixture of like a sugar, and that's going to give the plant its energy. Now there are no real instructions on this aside from these pictures, but it looks like you're just gonna so for right now, I'm going to remove them very gently like this and just place them to the side here. So they're basically going to stay in their shape now. We can go ahead and open our flower food. First, I'm just going to allow it to sink to the bottom of the package. I'm just going to empty some of this in here. Now, since I don't think I have an entire quart, I'm just going to do about half for now, and I'm going to save the rest for later, so it can kind of continue to extend the life. So for right now, I'm only going to do about half, and as you can see, there's still a good amount left in here. So you're just going to roll this up and store it. You can just place one of these elastics around it that it came with. And this will store nicely for another day. What I like to do is just kind of place it behind it. Wherever I end up placing the vase, I'm just going to place it behind it so that I don't lose it. Okay, so that is all set. Our next step is actually going to be to put in some water into this vase. Now the water you add in, you're going to want it to be nice and warm. That's going to help to mix together and dissolve your flower food, as well as enable the flowers to absorb the water more effectively. So every time you do a water change in the future as well, you're going to want to give your flowers a fresh cut on all their stems and add in nice warm water. Alright, so I'm just going to add this in here. I'm going to mix it up with a little flower stem. And you're just going to want to keep stirring that until it's relatively clear and all the powder is dissolved. So at this point, we can go ahead and add back in our flowers, and we're pretty much done. We're just going to do some final touches after we add them in, and then we're going to be all set. Now, of course, you could have just added in the powder at the bottom and the water previously before you arranged it. But I just like to do the initial cutting and arranging when there's not any water in the bowl so that I'm not getting everything all wet as I'm working. So the initial just to kind of give me an idea about how everything fits in. Then I always go with a nice clean bowl, add in the water, and then I do the final arrangement once more. When you go ahead and add these little blossoms back in, you're going to want to make sure, of course, that they reach, and they're able to reach the water line that you've already established previously. And as you're doing these little blossoms, just try to make sure that each one is balancing on the stem of a previous flower so that it's not just falling into the water and getting stunk. Okay, so for my purposes, this looks pretty good to me. And again, this is just a technique that I've learned personally, and this is just how I personally do this. So, in my book, if you have an absolutely different way of doing this, then by all means, have it your way. But this is just how I personally like to arrange flowers, if and when I get some. So this is pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you guys will go out and purchase your own bouquets that you'll arrange. At my grocery store, they just sell these little packs of $5 mini carnations, which is what these are. And they come in all different colors, so you can kind of play around with how you want to arrange the colors and which colors you get. Usually they'll sell different colors. One package of them might be in full bloom, another package might be with the blossoms starting to come in, but if you get the kind where these blossoms are just starting to come in and about half the bouquet, then it's going to last you a really